Brian Williams was my dad. I was in love with this kind, loving, caring human since the day I was born. He was my rock. He was the first one I always wanted to call to share any good news with because no matter what, he was my number one fan. He was always the proudest person in the room and would brag all day about his family and all of our accomplishments, but never would he boast about himself. He didn't ever do anything for himself. It was always him doing things for other people and made him happy. That's why he always found himself the happiest, was when he was doing things for other people. When I was little, my dad would take us, Adam and I, up to our cabin in the woods, Moss Lake. When we would get on the road, he would always say, "We're off like a dirty shirt," or he would say, "Here we go, riding in the snow." Those were his two favorite sayings. On our way up there, we would stop at the store and buy the world's best cheese curds. It was one of my favorite places ever. We would watch the hummingbirds every morning, catch crawfish, snakes, toads, fish, and fish our hearts out to our heart's content. We would go out, trolling the waters, fishing all day to catch what my dad would say the biggest, most beautiful fish. And then we would go back up to the cottage where he would teach us how to clean the fish before eating it for dinner. He always had a fishing story about how I would outfish him every time we would fish, and he would have the biggest grin on his face while telling his stories because he was so proud. As a kid, that meant the world to me. How proud of me he always was. I may not have had fancy clothes or hair, but I was the happiest kid with just a worm, a fishing pole, and my daddy. He taught me the true meaning of making the best of what you have. My favorite day of the week was always every other Saturday when I got to go to the Knox Opticians with my dad for the whole day. We would always stop and get a chocolate muffin on the way, and I would sit there while all these customers would come in and tell me how amazing my dad was and I was the luckiest girl in the world. I didn't know it then, but I really was. I can remember back to when my dad got his little dream fulfilled. We had just bought our house on Crestwood. He had me and my brother. What more could he ask for? He needed a girlfriend. And he got one. She was made of metal, and she had a motor. My dad's girlfriend was his fishing boat. The day he brought that boat home, you would think he won the lottery. He had her name picked out, and it was Eyeballs, and we spray painted it on the boat that same day. And we took her out every day after when he got home from work. Besides fishing, my dad loved his metal detector. I think he would wake up on every Sunday morning super early and go to the beaches and the parks in our little town. He had multiple glass jars of hidden treasures in our garage. If he found a ring, he would always give it to me, and I think I wore 3 rings on every finger at all times. We moved from Crestwood to Lake Drive when I was a preteen, and it was all he ever wanted, to have Eyeballs in our very own backyard in the canal. Not long after that, he met the love of his life, Margaret, and even though I was teen and traveling back and forth to California, I was so glad that he had met someone to share the rest of his life with. She had 3 little kids who kept him on his toes, and I got to have 3 more siblings, which worked out great because even though it took a while for me to get used to sharing my dad with others, I'm proud to share him with them. I have received the best gift from him in them, as they have been a blessing to our whole family. I used to love calling my dad, and he would be so proud of them. The proudness in his voice, being able to share politics, the military, and hearing how proud of the good grades that my sister got made me so happy. The day that I flew home in the summer of 2018, I took him out for lunch to our favorite poutine restaurant to share my good news with him. He said, "April, I already know. I can see it in your face. I was pregnant with his first grandchild, Austin. And he was the happiest person in the world. I would do anything to have him teach and instill the values that he taught in me to my 4 boys. When my dad got sick and found out he had cancer, and they were going to operate to try to remove the cancer, it was the scariest time of my life, as I never thought my dad could die. I just thought he was always going to be there. He was my hero. And heroes don't die. He made it through his surgery, and I had to come to the realization that he would not live forever. Not in this world, at least. He was definitely a fighter and fought as hard as he could for all of us. We got an extra 3 years with him even when the doctors kept giving him only a couple of months. And I'm so grateful for the extra time that he fought, as I'm a little selfish and I needed the extra time with him. I love you, Dad, and I've loved you my whole life. Thank you.